Ladies and gentlemen, Eddie Marcus here again, spokesman and advocate for basic human rights for all people. What I mean is that I'm a voice for love, which makes me think I'm a voice for God. Today is September 11th, 2016. 15 years ago, at this moment, I was being released from Stillwater Prison. And as I was waiting in the rec room, waiting for them to call me to the administrative office to be released, I was watching TV and we saw planes, or what appeared to be planes, flying into the World Trade Center. It hurt a little bit because what I recognized was not just that the planes were going through the buildings, but I recognized that a lot of people were going to be killed. A lot of people were going to die from that. And I didn't know exactly what was going to come on the outskirts of that, but the possibilities for a lot of dying, which subsequently did occur. And it just made me feel very distraught, because my being in prison was because I was trying to prevent this kind of stuff from happening. At the time, I thought it was a terrorist attack. I had no idea that it was a false flag. And you didn't have any idea that it was a false flag. And many of you, even today, will say that it wasn't a false flag. And many of your higher representatives who are in on the inside will keep perpetuating the thought that it was terrorists, so that you who are doubting can always reaffirm what the media has said. Now, the reason that I felt so bad about coming out of prison is because I went into prison arguing on a letter with George Bush. You see, what you call terrorists and others called your friends. I was sitting there and I had been listening to the whistleblowers. I had been listening to those who talked about conspiracy. And they had forewarned that something was going to happen relative, something that was going to happen tied directly in. And then all of a sudden it unfolded right before my eyes. And so I told George Bush that as a free man, I would never sit still and allow such aggression and evilness that had something to do with him stealing the election or the people giving him that election. I would not stand idly by and let him bring that kind of evilness upon the American people. So I had been committed a crime earlier trying to bring this message to the people about God's love for them. And I was still on paper. And though I ran for president year 2000 as a write-in, nobody heard my message. Well, I understand, no money was put behind me, and the whole life training of Americans is to think what they want you to think, hear what they want you to hear, and act like they want you to act. And you responded, a black man, no money, talking about peace, prosperity, and joy. How could that be so when a white man wasn't speaking about it? How could that be so when a rich man wasn't speaking about it? I had to be out of my mind to think that any American was going to hear that and buy that. And so as I was leaving this prison, I'm just thinking I'm going right back out into a world that has completely lost its mind. And when I say lost its mind, you don't have the mindset that you came into the world with. You've been programmed to be who you are, to act as you do. And knowing this, it just seems such a futile act for me to be coming back out of this prison unless I was going to be effective in fighting against the evilness of this world, or gave it up and put on the same shoes that everybody else put on. I've been speaking out diligently all of these years since then, but I have not gone back to jail. I had not committed any more crimes. The reason I didn't commit any more crimes because I learned out that it would be useless. It would not be effective. Going to jail in the past had been to get your attention, and it didn't. At this time, I don't mind going back to jail because it's not to get your attention, but it's for me to stand up for what I believe in. Stand up for what I see as being righteous. Stand up for what I know in my own spirit that if you did, it would work for you. But not requiring that you stand. See, I was trained not to believe in reincarnation. But knowing the love of God, it is easier for me to believe that God will allow all of the people on this earth, not just Americans, to die, just as it was suggested in Noah's days. Now, we got people saying that never happened, but I don't care whether it did or didn't. We have just as many people in the world, especially in America, that's just as naive, that's just as blind, and just as inconsiderate and hateful as the people who were living in Noah's day. And if God, my Heavenly Father, would allow a flood to come in and wipe out all of those people, it was not to kill them and leave them to what you have considered as purgatory and hell, but an opportunity to be reborn again. Because what you learn in this life somehow is imprinted upon your spirit. Somehow is imprinted upon that which is called life. And when you come back, depending upon the society that you live in, you're going to have something that you already know. You heard people say this little boy played piano 2 years old like he'd been here before. Or this person who did a certain act or had a certain knowledge as if they were an adult and they were just a kid. Well, I'm not saying these guys have been born again to the physical, reincarnated, but I'm not saying that they haven't. You see, God is like that. He knew that you were lost, and so he sent people along to guide you down the merry way. And at every turn, the people were not ready. And so those that were sent to guide you were killed. You not knowing that every time that one of those were killed, it was a sign to you that God was in control of their lives. And you missed the opportunity. Had you not missed the opportunity, though they would not have been killed, and if they were, you would have risen to the occasion to become just like they. You would be carrying on whatever roles that they were carrying on, you would be doing it, and you wouldn't settle for less. Why? Because the enemy has shown you that he wasn't going for that. Well, here we are today, and people have been saying that God is going to send Jesus back, for those of you who say you believe in Jesus and God, and he's going to save you from these things. I tell you, you say the Bible tell you that. I tell you the only reason God saved you from that, it will not be that way. It'll be possibly, I'm not trying to say that this is absolute because I don't know, but possibly through being reincarnated so you can have another chance and maybe another chance. However many chances it takes, God is eternal and he's not limited to this moment or the next moment. God is limited beyond limitations. And so what we might think is have to happen now, in God's eye, it does not have to happen now. Now is any time. So what does this mean for America today? It means that what I'm telling you is probably true. Today we have people who are running for president of the United States. One of them who have been obedient to the powers that be, that secret society that you know nothing about. They handle all the money. They buy all the politicians. They put people in places to help control and manipulate different societies as they want them to do. And they do this because you don't know it. It's a secret. And you think that these secret people, like these presidents, who are members of these secret societies, who have been put before you to say they want to serve you, and you give them that right, they come right into office and serve the powers that be. that's what Miss Clinton, based upon my observation, has been preparing herself to do since she's been in public office. Donald Trump, guy just happened to be thrown into a place he doesn't even want. Be president of the United States. He ain't got time to be president of the United States. But he talked, ran his mouth, and the powers that be want to assure Miss Clinton, so they put the camera out there every time he opened his mouth. If Donald Trump passed gas, the camera would have been there to pick it up and to highlight it as something unique about this particular man. Oh, people would talk about it, and as they talked about it, the camera would go back out again. Donald Trump. Well, when they don't talk about Miss Stein this way, they don't talk about Johnson that way, and I'm talking about the Green Party and the Libertarian Party. Now, these guys would not be that much different than Clinton or Donald Trump, but they would be somewhat different. The reason they wouldn't be different is because the powers that be still run the scene. And if these folks come into office, they're going to catch pure hell. And all of the people around them are going to be from the Trilateral Commission or from what's the name of that other organization? Council on Foreign Relations. They're going to be coming from those round tables. They're going to be people from all over the world who care nothing about not just you as Americans, but any of the other general populations of the world. God cares about you. So, 15 years ago, and I'm back here today, you are being offered a candidate for president that does not care a thing about you, and you are showing that you have not grown at all. While most of you disagree with any of these candidates, both of them, you disagree with them, but you haven't learned how to deal with it. You haven't learned that the way to fix this is for you to change your mind from what you've been taught. You haven't learned that you have to realize that what is important to you is important to everybody else. You have to realize that those things that are essential for your survival is essential for everybody's survival. And for you to guarantee your survival, you must play a major role in guaranteeing the survival of others. So when people come to you talking about what they want to do for you, you think about that situation and think about what needs to be done for you and everybody else. And from that, you determine what policies they must employ. You determine what it is. You determine how it's done. You're the boss now. You do all these things, and then you can let them come up to you and say, well, this is what I can do. Or you can draft somebody to say, to go in and do what you have determined must be done to satisfy you, the human population. It should not be done by some bankers. It should not be done by some secret society. It should not be done by the hate groups. It should be done by you, the people. Now, it is not done by you, the people. And since it is not done by you, the people, all kinds of things can happen to you. You have heard that Germany had a false flag just to change the thing around, put Hitler in, and work for the powers that be. You have heard that the United States used false flags in Vietnam. You heard they used false flags when they tried to start a war with Cuba. And you think they wouldn't do that. You know, because they taught you that they wouldn't do that. You watch television, you see. They don't hide it from you. They show you what they did to the Native Americans. But you think that was justified. They show you what they did to black people. And you think that was justified because it supposedly worked for your benefit. Not everybody's benefit, but supposedly for your benefit. And if not for your benefit, it worked for the America's benefit. That's why you always say America, the greatest nation on the face of the earth. That's a very shameful statement. Do you know what it means to say that you're the greatest nation on the face of the earth? It means that you don't give a hoot about any other nation but yourself. Because if you cared, you'd make sure that they would rise up too. Well, is that being done? I don't think so. But this is absolutely required to have peace. It is absolutely required to have prosperity. It is absolutely required to have joy in your life. Well, what are we going to do now? I have heard that when you get in a crisis situation, God always sends somebody to inform you, to tell you what's going on, so you can respond if you want to, one way or the other. Evil does the same thing. Evil forewarns you about what it's going to do. It forewarns you about options that are available to you, and then they fix it up so you don't believe the truth and accept the lie. When Sanders was running for president, he told you a lot of things you wanted to hear. Now the system manipulated, according to the findings that have come out since then, that they were backstabbing Sanders, doing everything they could, stealing votes, stealing from the electoral votes, just doing whatever they wanted to do to put this person forward that the system could count on. You heard about it. What did you do about it? Did you do anything? No, you didn't do anything. Now you hear people like Miss Stein, who's supposedly talking the same talk, but better talk than Sanders. Sanders went back and joined the party that he said was no good. He went back and joined the party that said was going to take you down. He's a part of that party now. Ms. Stein, not yet. And so, because they don't get the media attention, you count them off as no one that you could waste your time with. You got to vote for your little devil to keep out that big devil. And in everyone's eyes, or in someone's eyes, each one of them is the big devil. And in someone's eyes, each one of them is the small devil. So you want to go and vote for your small devil. You want to vote for a devil. A devil is one who cares nothing about you. A devil who has his own agenda. A devil who will destroy you. And you are voting for it. Ladies and gentlemen, for football, a game that all Americans seem to love. Fun, fun, fun. But the game is fixed. Those people get paid all kinds of millions and millions of dollars, and they go on that field competing, break one's neck, break a leg, break anything on them to get him out of the game. Not just for this game, but take him out for the season. Just mess him up. And most of the fans agree the same thing. Get him. Get him. I remember when I was in college and I went to some of our football games, and you were playing an opposing team. They had great players, a quarterback or a running back or a wide receiver. The only thing was in our minds was take him out, mess him up, get him so he can't do anything. And if you broke his leg or broke his neck, everybody stood up and screamed. Why? Because now he was not a threat. But you know what? You take the money out of the game and you allow people to play, to exercise their real gifts, their real talents, and they will make a game even more interesting than it is today. But they would not try to hurt anybody because they themselves would not want to be hurt. They might have to change the game to tag, but it'll be the greatest tag game you've ever seen, with each one of those players trying to be the best that they could possibly be. And when the game is over, everybody can laugh and shake hands and say that was a fun game. Nobody upset. Nobody said we're going to get even later. Well, see, that's the way these governments work. One government is trying to be one team and you're better than the next team. Or the next team. And so you're at odds with one another. You know, what I have said here today is nothing new. I got over almost 1,000 videos on YouTube and Facebook. I'm sure many of them have been deleted. But in every message that I have ever given, even though I might have been cursing or cussing, I want to say cussing, I haven't cursed anybody, but I've done some cussing to the American public and to the church. I've cussed you out at given points in time, but I have no plans to cuss you out anymore, because I have concluded that you do not know any better. And to all of you would-be leaders out there, you might as well recognize that when you're playing that game, you are doing nothing but playing a game of division. A game of division. I was at a rally for Black Lives Matter, and I went in to give a few leaflets, or if maybe could have some words to say some of the things that I'm saying here, and to show them that the power was in a house being reunited instead of staying divided. They didn't even want to give me a chance to speak, told me that we'll talk about this later, which we have never talked about. And when I see people over here, the health group, upset because they're not receiving the kind of wages that they need. Another health group needs to get some more fundings to deal with cancer or to deal with MS or to deal with the various, and they all separated. because they figure they are the ones who got to get the money. Forget the others. That's what we have been taught. That's the way our system works. The message from heaven is all of you are dissatisfied, but the creator of you have made it possible that you can be satisfied. But in order to be satisfied, you got to come together, because together is where your power lies. And as long as you decide that you're a Republican or a Democrat, or you're a conservative or a liberal, as long as you use those as distinctions to separate you, as long as you buy into that lie that that deceiver has put on you, you will always be a loser. The difference between me, 2016 as opposed to 2000, is that I know not only can I not make you drink, I can't even take you to the well. So I'm through with that. The only thing I can do is the message that I've given to you, I transfer all of that to myself. When I speak for me, I speak for all of you. But when I walk for me. I walk to the well. I drink, and I come back when I've gotten my fill. And I'll come back and tell you, the well is over there, the water's good. And you can go over there if you want to. If you say, well, I don't know how to get to the well, but I want to get to the well, then I'll show you the map. I'll even walk with you to guide you there. But I'm not going to put my hand on your head and try to push you down to drink. When you get there, I will turn around and walk, because now you can have your fill. This is the new day. This is the new me. And I'm not worried about who is going to kill me. I couldn't give a hoot less, because what I know about love, Martin Luther King, Gandhi, I'm just calling these few that you might know, the Kennedy brothers, Malcolm X, these men do not live on the earth anymore. Why? Because they were too kind. They were too nice to be left here in a cesspool of people who were blind and did not want to see. So I'm not trying to say that all of you are blind, but I can say this. Unless you're trying to change the world and make it a beautiful place, not just for Americans, but for everybody on the face of the earth, then you are blind. What good is it for us to go and try to kill a whole nation of people so we can take their oil, so you can drive your car? Hey, it's not even about taking their oil. That's just something that's planted in our head. It has to do with destroying people off the face of the earth. It has to do with eliminating sources that might involve themselves in interests that you have in such a way that you do not capture what you're going for. I am saying today, God made every last one of us, good and bad. And we talk about going after this life, those of us who believe in heaven, to heaven. And in heaven, everybody knows, or they believe, that there's peace. They believe that there's prosperity. They believe that there's joy. They believe that food, clothing, shelter, education if needed, health care if needed, would be in abundance, and no one would be without it. And they all say, that's good. But at several occasions, you have had a presidential candidate who had to run on a write-in mission, came before you and told you that. And each time you rejected it. And now you are ready to vote for the devil, the lesser of two evils. And your church is sitting on the same bench with you. What does that say? 2016? What does that say? When all of the evidence has been given to indicate that that World Trade Center was a false flag, that the American people and the powers that be, those who are bought, those who have been put in and implanted into our system to make sure that things go as the power that be wants it. This is happening right before your eyes. And all of the experts have come out and said it was a false flag. Now, what are you going to do about it 15 years later? What are those families who lost their loved ones, their siblings and their mothers and fathers, what are they going to do about it? What is the fire department in New York City? The police department in New York City, those first responders who comrades got into those situations and lost their lives. And now those who survived are right back in the streets doing the same thing that they were doing before, are vulnerable to any other false flag that happens. A guy, Snowden, Edward Snowden, put his life on the line to tell us something about what was happening in America. And now those people in power want to call for his killing. Kill him, they say. They say he's the worst thing that could have ever happened to this nation. And you agreeing with him, rather than accepting what he has told you about this folk. You should be protecting him, making sure that he can come back in this country and live in this country free as you live free. But no, you bought into the crap. You bought into the crap that if you stand up and exercise what you have said, were the rights that you enjoyed so much that terrorists want to kill you for it, while you have lost those rights trying to protect yourself from terrorists. Now that should tell you, it was not about the terrorists. It was about the powers that be that wanted to take those rights from you anyway. And this is the way they orchestrated it so it could happen. Now, if you were smart, and I'm going to leave this alone, if you were smart, you would go to those polls, every last one of you, and only a demonic possessed person would write on a ballot for the Democrat, Miss Clinton, Republican, Donald Trump. Only a demonic individual would choose those for a leader. But everybody who is free, if you don't know my name, to write in as a person who would represent you by the spirit of the loving love of God, then you should write your own name in, stating that if you were in power, this is what you would do, because it's going to be required for you to have that paradise that you speak of. Anything other than that, ladies and gentlemen, I want to say it again. Anything other than that, I don't care if you're black or white, man or woman, old or young, American or otherwise, you deserve everything you get. Until next time, Eddie Marcus. Bye-bye.